What up, Screen Fiends? I'm GB, and you're tuned in to Headz TV, where we like to discuss all the wonderful things appearing on your movie and your TV screens. In this episode, I'm going to give my review of Better Call Saul, Season 3, Episode 10, which is the Season 3 finale, titled Lantern. Alright, so the Season 3 finale of Better Call Saul. Alright, here's what I'll say. This was definitely, by far, I think, the best season of Better Call Saul so far. But I think it was the worst season finale. Now, it was a good episode if it wasn't the finale, if it fell on episode 7, 8, or even a 9, it wouldn't have been so bad, it would have been eventful enough for a middle to the, to close to the end of a season episode. But I don't know what's up with the light. It's like super bright. But for an episode that was the finale, I really expected it to be a little bit more eventful and to bridge us into the next season a little bit more. Which they really didn't do the way I feel they've done in the 2 previous seasons. So, what do I mean by that? In the 2 previous seasons, by the time we get to the very last shot, we kind of have a sense of where the characters are going to go in the next season. And we didn't really have too big of a sense of that by the end of this one, I feel. I don't know. Alright, let's just get into it. The synopsis for this episode reads, Kim resolves to take some time off from work, while Jimmy does his best to make amends. Nacho takes a major gamble with his future, and Hamlin applies pressure on Chuck to finally make a decision. Alright, so Kim resolves to take some time from work. So, while she's recuperating from the crazy car accident in the last episode, and by the way, how great was it to see her and Jimmy's reaction to her hurt, and him picking up the papers at the end of the episode from all over the road there. You really, really get such a sense of how much Jimmy cares for Kim. Even if before you didn't get it from, whatever was going on, you get it in this episode. So she's, after the accident, she's gonna start working again. Like, she tells Francesca to bring over the papers and all this. And she's really getting ready to start cracking back on the case. But then I think she has a moment of realization. And I don't really see where in the episode, if I should say, anything sparks that in her brain to make her say, you know what, I need time off. I need to rest. I need to go to Blockbuster and rent me 10 videos. But that's what happens, and she decides that she's just going to take a little vacation and take her time to recoup and do some things she hasn't maybe been able to do before. So maybe that's where we're going with Kim in the next season, and I'll do a predictions video about season 4 after this, but maybe that's where we're going the next season with Kim as a more laid back, maybe? I don't know. I don't really see, that's not in her character to me. Even if she decides to do it only for a short while, that even still seems a little out of character to me, so... But in a good way, meaning that she realized she needed a change, that she was burning herself out, and she's the one that caused the accident by taking on way too much work, not sleeping. She even says something like she went, the whole week with only 6 hours sleep or something like that. So, that was a nice little closure to her arc from the season. And it looks like she gave, I don't know if she gave both of those cases away, but she definitely gave one of those cases away to Swigert. They were one of the people. They're the company that wanted to recruit Kim. That was representing Sandpiper, the old folks home. All right. So that's basically all we got with Kimmy. Kim, Kimmy. I was about to say Jimmy. So we got with Kim, and like I said, we get the stuff with Jimmy where we really see how much he cares about her. And how much love he really has for her. And it definitely seems like the type of situation where he loves her a lot more than she loves him. But that, I guess, remains to be seen. Okay, next. While Jimmy does his best to make amends. So Jimmy makes amends. He's trying to fix things with the old ladies, and I just feel so bad for all of them, but especially the main one that he screwed over, the one who needed to sign the papers. I really, really feel bad for her. Now, I don't understand why when he had the ladies in the mall, he didn't just come and say, look, I was pressing her to not sign it, and lie to them that way, and say, it was all me telling her to not sign it. Blame me. Be mad at me. I think that would have been a better plan for Jimmy than what he carried out. I'll get to what he carried out in a second. And I like that plan, because it worked, but I feel like it would have been less damaging and more helpful to everybody involved if he would have just went to those separate ladies and said, look, blame me. I was the one that was telling her, don't sign, hold out for more money. And she actually was like, oh, but what about the other girls? And I was basically like, oh, well, they'll get paid eventually, blah, blah, blah. And I think that would have just been a more effective way for Jimmy to carry out his plan. But now what he actually does is puts himself on blast and ruins any chances he has at elder law in that town. By openly outing this big conspiracy or whatever that he had. I mean, it's basically the same idea I said, but the way he does it so publicly and so out there is a lot more damaging to Jimmy and Jimmy's character. And it was not only that, it was embarrassing for him too, I'm sure. So I think there was a quieter, more subtle way to do it, but I guess that's just not slipping Jimmy's way, and that's more Saul's way to do things quietly and under the table, and that's what we're seeing in this show is the evolution from Jimmy to Saul. So, and then we get the stuff with him and Chuck, which was really powerful to me. I didn't expect it to go that way. If you watch my predictions, I thought they were going to join forces, but Chuck basically just says, "I never cared about you," and I don't know if I believe that from Chuck. I believe that was his way of just getting rid of Jimmy and getting him out of his face because he was faking not being in pain from all the electricity. So I don't think Chuck really meant that, even in that moment. I think he just knew it was the only way to get Jimmy gone. But it was really cold, and I think Jimmy's going to take it really personal. And if Chuck, spoiler alert, if Chuck does die in the fire, which I'm not totally convinced he's going to die. I'm thinking maybe he gets sent to a mental hospital because of this fire. But if he does die, Jimmy's going to feel really, really guilty, and he's going to feel really bad for the last words that Chuck spoke to him. Even if Chuck does end up in a mental hospital, Jimmy's going to feel bad about that and the last words and all that. So, look, the Jimmy, I'm just shipping everybody's name today. The Jimmy and Chuck relationship has been fascinating from day one on this show. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. And honestly, I'd be surprised if Chuck dies because I don't think they're done with that story, even if Chuck does end up in a mental hospital. And I don't see them having 2 more seasons to go without Chuck being involved. Now, maybe he's only involved in flashbacks. But I tend to believe that we will still get Chuck in present day, even if not in a very well or sane state. Okay, next. Nacho takes a major gamble with his future. So this scene was the best scene of the episode with Gus and Hector and Bolsa and Nacho and this confrontation and Nacho's obviously had the pill switch for a little bit of time now, a couple of days, maybe even a week or 2, who knows. And Hector, we already saw him get angry and have a bad reaction to that because of Gus. And then that's it, the straw that broke the camel's back, and Hector has his stroke. And the next time we see him, if we even see him again until Breaking Bad, he'll definitely be like vegged out in a chair. Now, I found it interesting that Gus runs over to help him and starts calling for CPR, whatever, call the ambulance, whatever. Now, I think that Gus does not want Hector to die like that. He wants Hector to live in a vegetated wheelchair state. And this is going to make it all that much more poignant when you watch Breaking Bad and you see the beef between Gus and Hector and why they hate each other so much. I think it's gonna come out that Nacho and Gus were working together to do this to Hector, and Gus didn't want Hector to die. He wanted Hector to stroke out and, to be basically like a vegetable for a while before he decided to kill him. And even if that's not the plan, Gus is going to use that as his plan, having to alter or change things up because things didn't go his way. But if you look at the way that Gus looks at Nacho when Nacho's picking up the pills, he gives him a suspicious look in a way. But I also read it as, be careful. Don't let nobody else see you doing that. We got something to hide here. So I really, really can't wait till, next season to see how that's going to play out. Because, that's one of the best parts of Better Call Saul is watching how everything is evolving and everything is changing and becoming Breaking Bad and trying to guess it and figure it out. It adds to that fun, and that was a really tense scene, I feel, with, even though we already saw it in the sneak peek, with Nacho, his dad, and Hector. I loved it. It was great. And Hector obviously was not happy about what was happening, and he was going to kill Nacho's dad. 100%. If he didn't stroke out that night, he was going to kill Nacho's dad. And that's why Nacho was going to go kill Hector, because he knew that. He knew his dad was going to be dead, and Nacho may be next. And he had to try and take out Hector first, and the pills weren't doing it quick enough. But look how it worked out. Absolutely crazy. All right. Then we have Hamlin applies pressure on Chuck finally to make a decision. The actor who plays Howard Hamlin is so fantastic. Look, all the actors are great on this show. There's not one actor that isn't, or actress, that is not fantastic on Better Call Saul. But this week I want to just compliment not only Michael McKean as Chuck, but also the dude that plays Howard, and his name escapes me, but I'll tell you 1 second. All right, I'm losing it. There we go. Patrick Fabian. He's fantastic in this episode. You see, he does not want to pay Chuck. He does not want to pay Chuck out of his pocket with his own money, but he's going to do it to get rid of Chuck to save his father's firm. The way he does it is very tactful. It's very professional, very respectful to Chuck, I feel, even though he's basically forcing Chuck out. This was the first time you ever really get a sense from Chuck that he feels like he lost, that he doesn't have a plan to win or come out on top. And I think that's his breaking point, and that's what makes him go a little extra crazy by the end of this episode, is the fact that he lost to Jimmy and he lost to Howard. And this is probably the first time in his life, or in a very long time, that he's lost and not had a plan or an idea to get back on his feet. See, Chuck and Jimmy are not very different. Yes, one is the legal side of things, the other is the illegal, unethical side of things, but they're both very similar in they have to win at all costs. The only difference is Chuck will use all costs within the confines of ethical law, whilst Jimmy will not. You get what I'm saying? But they have that same characteristic where they have to win, they have to come out on top. They have this very, very strong feeling of pride. And if you know anybody who's a very proud person, it is extremely hard to overcome somebody's feelings of pride. Very hard. Almost near impossible. And I was missing from this week was Mike, and that was upsetting. I love Jonathan Banks. I love Mike. I love what they're doing with the character. I love the last time we see him, ties him even more into Gus and Breaking Bad with Madrigal and Lydia. But he was definitely missed as far as I'm concerned in this episode. But I'm sure we'll get more of him next season, unless they're writing him off for the next 2 seasons, where he's going to disappear and do some business for Gus elsewhere, in Europe or something. I don't know. I hope not, because I really, really like Mike a lot. So I'm going to do a predictions video for season 4. I probably won't do that till next week. Give us some time to sit with this. And, I might even do a couple of more videos kind of dissecting this season, or, the first 3 seasons in general of Better Call Saul. So stay tuned for that also. Tons of other content on the channel as far as other shows, movies I do here and there, but I've been kind of sticking to TV lately. But I am a complete and huge movie addict and movie head. So I watch tons and tons of movies, but my videos lately have been focused to TV. But thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about or thought about Better Call Saul Season 3, or just the finale, or the first 3 seasons at all, Breaking Bad, anything at all. I love to get into these discussions. Just drop it down in the comment, and I'm usually pretty good with getting back and getting a dialogue, good conversation going with you guys. So thanks again for watching. Always appreciate it. You guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.